Okay, if I had a nerdy study group about politics and policy, I'd want these two to be in it. I guess they're sort of in it. We're all sort of in it. Chris Hayes is, of course, the host of All In. Stephanie Ruhle, the host of The 11th Hour. Thank you, Chris, for staying around. Thank you, Stephanie, for being around early. I want to start with you, Chris. I mean, I watched your segment with Steve Liesman as he was describing this trade deal, not a trade deal, whatever we're calling it. Maybe we can redefine it. It was also a day where Jeanine Pirro re-entered the chat. Trump made some strange comments in the Oval Office today. You talked about and I talked about. What'd you make of today?
Well, I think the trade deal, I mean, I loved the clip of the China trade deal because I'd actually forgotten that one. So that brought me back. And of course, like it never was anything. The memory I had today watching the UK trade deal was there was this Friday early in COVID where he did this thing in the Rose Garden where he brought all these CEOs out and he did this whole dog and pony show, but like Google's got to have a test, like a new website, and then CVS is going to have tests in the parking lot. And like none of it was true. It was all completely vaporware. And when you scratch the surface on this, like trade deals take a long time to negotiate, A. They have a lot of details that are real granular policy details, B. And C, he cannot make a deal. There is no deal to be done with him because anything that's actually going to be binding is going to have to go through Congress. He's not going to do it. And the final thing, and this point that Steve made that I thought was important, is the 10% wall around the country. He is absolutely tied to. Everything else might be negotiable, but tripling the current baseline tariff is something he really wants to do. And that itself is a huge, huge problem in terms of the macroeconomic productivity of the country.
And Jen, I would just say that 10% is exactly why yesterday when everyone's like, I can't believe Jay Powell isn't going to cut rates. Remember what the Fed chair said. He is concerned about our uncertain economic future. It's about that 10%, right?
Yeah.
That 10% is more than triple what it was a few months ago. So at least in the short term, that is going to be inflationary. And this is Great Britain, our closest ally. Okay, so while they're boasting like we got this deal going, like that's like saying I opened the hottest restaurant in New York City, it's packed. Then you open the door and everybody eating in the restaurant is my family.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Trump wants you to think, right? Trump wants you to think this is the first of many. And listen, he has to create this framework. He's a showman. His back is against a wall when it comes to trade. We are 3 weeks out. We know that these ports, less and less cargo ships are coming in. And the ones that are coming in have less and less cargo on them. We're 3 weeks away from our store shelves potentially looking like they did during COVID. So Trump needs to sort of change the narrative and say, we've got something going. And yes, so he has a framework for a deal with Great Britain and almost 200 other countries, and I haven't even mentioned China behind it, where it's going to be 10% or more, and they haven't even gotten started.
I mean, one of the things, even though it's a fake trade deal, I love all these analogies. There's so many you could just make up about this case. And to Chris's point, it takes years to negotiate trade deals. But one of the things that was telling today to me, and you talked about this a little bit, Chris, is there were British luxury car makers and others who were kind of celebrating out there, right? A bunch of people were celebrating like that. And then when Trump was asked about the dock workers and truck drivers who are worried about losing their jobs because imports from China have slowed, which is a huge, real issue, to Steph's points, happening at the ports, he basically responded, that means we lose less money. I mean, it is a disconnection, maybe a misunderstanding of economics, but what did you make of that?
It was shocking, and it was shocking. I mean, it's shocking, not surprising, which is something you say about him a lot. But, I mean, first of all, just on the politics of this, I cannot get over the fact that there was a multi-day news cycle of outrage because Nancy Pelosi had too much ice cream in her freezer during COVID.
Outrageous.
Like she's so out of touch. Like there's too much ice cream. Like
it was an expensive brand, Chris. It was a very high-end brand.
Yes, it was.
Probably
it was
delicious,
but
yeah.
But I mean, here's the guy who's like literally the golden toilet guy. Okay, there's the golden toilet, the golden stroller around, going to be like you got to give fewer toys and pencils to your kids. I don't care about the dock workers and the longshoremen. Like, and I also think what's so striking about it, too, and this is something that I think, honestly, Wall Street still hasn't gotten through their head, is that's not a talking point. Like, when he says that's good, we're losing less money, he means it. Like, he sees every dollar, U.S. dollar, all of all the industry that supports as essentially lost. And if he's serious about that, we are in for a world of hurt, and he really does appear to be.
Okay, but hold on. I'm going to disagree with Chris on one point, only
Please.
because when the president said that this morning, we're going to lose less money, I actually sent that in a text to kind of all my Wall Street sources, many of whom voted for Trump, and every single person responded with like an exasperated, embarrassed emoji. Right. But what Wall Street does understand is many don't actually, I don't want to say they don't care if we fall into recession. Wall Street investors are different from people running companies. People running U.S. companies are devastated, right? If you run a small business in the United States, you are panicked right now. But for Wall Street, they're just trying to figure out what's the game and how do they get in on it early. Yeah. Because when they get a signal from the White House, they can just as soon go short the market as they can long. And when we talk about luxury British automakers who are celebrating today, you know who wasn't? Ford. GM, U.S. automakers who are saying, hold the heck on. If we're now going to bring in 100,000 British cars, it's going to be cheaper than it is for USMCA compliant cars that are partially produced here and in Mexico and Canada. They're the ones saying we're getting screwed here.
And Steph, you made this point to me earlier in a text, which I thought was interesting. I mean, he also seems to be getting a little skittish about tariffs. I mean, he talked today also about maybe reducing the 145% tariffs on China. He's kind of made some off and on comments about that. Do we think, and this is politics, this is the business community talking to him, where's that coming from?
Okay, you're seeing more and more business leaders saying this is going to slide us into a devastating recession. And what we've seen with the president in the last 24 hours as it relates to China makes it look like he's potentially blinking. We saw the market soar today. Stocks, Bitcoin, right? The riskiest assets, because it was 24 hours ago. Trump said, we're not reducing these tariffs with China. No how, no way. And suddenly today, he's saying, oh, maybe I've got some room. And also on China's side, a week ago, China said, unless we see some movement, we're not meeting. So there's a chance in the next 2 days we do start to see movement. Now, you're not seeing any U.S. companies say, Yahoo, and start to make big moves, but you are seeing Wall Street say, wait a minute, is something happening? Because also, read the tea leaves, Trump said today, stocks look really cheap, buy the market. And I'm not saying he's someone to take stock trading advice from, but the last time he said that was April 9th. The same day he put the pause on the tariffs, and that's what Wall Street's paying attention to.